One of the pro tips for anyone learning about designing cars in automation is to get your hands dirty and to recreate a real-life car. You learn a lot about shapes, proportions and all those tiny infuriating details that make a car look right. Then you can take that knowledge and shove it into your own fictional masterpieces. So today, let's do exactly that. We are firing up the Alrilma update of automation and will build my own lovely ride. So what does somebody like me, a car nerd who's plagued by an early midlife crisis, probably own? Something special? Something sporty? Something with a big motor? An American muscle car? A Mustang? A Viper? A Barracuda? No way. It's actually this. Yes, this is an American car. My mighty, magnificent, American-built Z3 Coupe. Let's take a quick tour, shall we? Here's the professional cameraman speaking. Look how glorious it is. I fell in love with the coupe when I first saw it in a car magazine when I was a kid, at times when there was no internet and nothing. I love the shape, I love the rear fenders, I love how bulky it is. I get so many thumbs ups and smiles on the highways and I enjoy every minute in it. It was built in 1999 in the good old US of A in Spartanburg, South Carolina. The Z3 was the first BMW that was fully built abroad. Around 20 years later, I finally bought one for a reasonable 19,000 euros with only 42,000 kilometers or 26,000 miles on the clock. Now, 8 years and a lot of questionable life choices later, it's at 103,000 kilometers or 64,000 miles and I still love it. Almost as much as every BMW driver loves, well, using more than one parking space. On the inside we have cozy E36 vibes with leather seats and silver plastic. All is in good and original condition, except for the very modern Bluetooth radio and the holder for the premium infotainment system sticking to the top there. In the back, the huge speakers are blasting the sick tunes of the previous owner, Germany's most successful musician with more than 50 million sold records and 21 #1 hits in Germany. Under the mighty hood, we have a 2.8 liter inline-6 producing 193 horsepower and 280 Nm of torque, crammed into a very tight engine bay. They even shoehorned a 5.4 liter V12 in there just for fun, but decided it was a bit undrivable with 70% of the mass over the front axle, and it didn't make it into production. The car never let me down, all it suffered from so far was a cracked intake pipe. And then the boot. For me, that's another huge benefit of the car. Which sports car has so much space for luggage? Here you see my baggage for the trip to France, where I raced a vintage Formula Ford, and my safety equipment for getting the car started with the old battery. Luckily by now I have a new one, and the engine starts like a charm again. But now let's get digital. We pick a similar wheelbase, although the only available one with the right body type is 10 cm too long, the 2.55 m one, but that's fine, the car will just be a few percent too large in general. The monocoque chassis and body consists of treated and galvanized steel, of course it's front-engined, and the front suspension is a McPherson strut, and in the rear, even though this is a trim of the E36, we have the semi-trailing arms of the E30. The next step is the color. It has the very exciting and creative name BMW Schwarz 2 and looks, well, schwarz, black. At least it's cheap to repair scratches, but it also looks dusty very quickly. The drive type obviously is rear-wheel drive, and then let's create the engine. The engine is an M52 B28 TU. This is German for super smooth and magnificent. 6 cylinders in a row, aluminum construction, and square 84 mm of bore and stroke. Dual overhead cam 4-valve, again aluminium head, and then we're already at the bottom end. I think it only had cast components, but lightweight con rods. We'll see if they last with the automation parameters or not. Also had harmonic dampers, a compression of 10.2:1, a very muscly and low cam profile with a peak torque around 3500. We'll see if we can get there. RPM limit of about 6.5, double VANOS, that means double VVT, and for the fuel system we have single throttle multi-point EFI. Officially it runs on 98 RON, although I only put 95 in it, and that's fine. And I'd say it's a performance intake, because I already had the intake in my hands as it was cracked. The exhaust actually are tubular headers. We probably have a high flow 3-way cat and straight through and reverse flow mufflers. Let me adjust the engine year. TU stands for Technische Überarbeitung. So it's the updated version and it's actually from 1998. The family was introduced in 1994. And with that sorted, let me do a bit of updating. We need to get it to 193 horsepower and 280 Newton meters of torque. It was a very good engine, so I can use a little bit of quality here and there. And with that, we are basically 100% right. 280 Newton meters of torque at 3,500 RPM, 193 horsepower at 5.5 or 5.6. Perfect. Let's paint it quite similar to what it looks in real life. Yeah, that looks basically right. It's just that the intake and exhaust side are swapped. Right, so let's give it a go. Beautiful, isn't it? And then, before doing the visuals, let's get the car set up nicely. The gearbox is a ZF S531 5-speed manual, and I have the correct gear ratios available, which we can enter directly here. So the final drive is a short 3.15, and I'll enter the other gears accordingly. And there we go. Then we have a helical LSD, a torsion limited slip diff, which helps with drifting. Overall, the gearbox and diff are the weakest point of the car and the biggest flaw, in my opinion. It is overall very short and it could really benefit from a 6th gear or a longer final drive ratio, just to reduce the RPM at highway speeds a little bit. For the tires, I of course have radials on it, sporty ones, some Continentals, 11 years old though. Probably could also say they are hard long life by now. And yeah, we need a bit more space here already. So I have two 25s in the front and two 45s in the rear. Both of them are 17-inch. And they are 45s in the front and two 45s 40s in the rear. Alloy rims of course, and for the brakes I have solid discs all around, no venting, and as far as I could tell they are single brake pistons. The sizes are 286 on the front and 272 in the rear, and the pads I'd say are somewhat on the comfy side, feel a little bit soft. For the force distribution we'll have to take a look later when the car is built, but by measuring the pistons, the front one is 54 millimeters and the rear is 36, which means the front pressure should be 2.25 times higher than the rear pressure, just as a starting point. I don't think it has an under tray and also no cooling flaps of course. I'd say the front bumper is a splitter and in the rear it has a spoiler, so I have to add that later when we do the design. And the rest should be good for now. For the interior, of course, we have a 2-seater, sports. And I'd say I had the premium or the luxury package. I have a CD changer in the back. Definitely have premium because I have 4 high quality speakers. CD player, yeah. And the luxury is also just CD player and an in-dash TV. I definitely don't have a TV, so let's go back to premium. And for the weight we probably have to go for the heavier side because it was originally a convertible, was quite heavy by that. And then they added a roof on top of that, so it is a little bit on the heavy side. But we'll check that out later as well. For the steering I have a hydraulic rack and pinion, and I have ABS and I have traction control, but not traction control with active braking, but only traction control that goes onto the throttle and cuts the gas basically. So I guess I have to select it. And also here in the description it says it's about adjusting ignition timing and electronic throttle position. So it's not about actively braking the wheels, so it's good. And then I'd say probably standard 90 safety. Let's check, blah blah blah. Just care about the airbags. Driver is provided with an airbag. I have that. What about the co-driver? yeah, both driver and front passenger, so I have advanced safety package. Alright, springs are, I guess, standard in the front and progressive in the rear. I can only choose one of those, so I go with standard. And for the gas monotube dampers, standard sway bars, and just set it up sporty. It is a little bit on the firm side, especially damping. So let's do that and reduce the sway bars a little bit, and then we should be pretty good. I'm not even sure if it has a rear sway bar, so I just disconnected. Right height for now 240. How does it look? Yeah, maybe a little low. It's definitely sitting a lot higher, and then we need more sway bars and or stiffer springs. So I add a little bit in the rear. I'm not sure about that. Pretty good setup in general, also for automation side. Okay, so I'm basically through. Let's check the stats. The weight should be at 1,300 kilograms, so it's a little bit on the light side, but I imagined that would happen because it's not modeled after a convertible in this case, so we need to make it heavier. Actually all the way down basically, and I give it more quality in the safety department as well, just to make it heavier. I think with this we are good. Also, it's not very good in the sports department. Like in reality, it was a bit of a flop. Let's check out performance. Top speed was 231. We have 233 here. And 0 to 100 or 0 to 62 miles an hour of 6.8 seconds. Here we have 6.4. So maybe I go back with the tires a little bit. Yeah, spot on 6.8 seconds and 233. It's a little bit too much. Yeah, of course the aero is pretty bad for this car, so we can make the air resistance worse. Yeah, and there we are, 231, 6.8 seconds. Now buckle up, this is where the magic happens. It's time to celebrate the glorious visual design. We want to get the proportions as close to reality as we can. To get the rough shape right, we'll slap a blueprint of the car onto a flat surface. I scaled it to match the wheelbase, and then it's morphing time. And this is where the fun begins. Alright, not everything works out perfectly. The muscly bump on the hood, impossible with this body. The front shape is a bit less pointy than in real life. The roofline is not quite right, and the wonderfully thick rear fenders, yeah, not really. I need to solve at least the last bit, because this car without a thick butt is just not right. We'll just have to live with the rest and make the best of it. Alright, let's start with the rims. And again, it's not perfect what we have available. Yeah, I'll go with these. And then let's start at the front. I need to adjust my blueprint. And I have one more trick up my sleeve. I will just paint the body in window glass, and then I can see both the blueprint and the car. Right, there we go. And let's start with the grille. I will use bumper bars to line out the shape. Right, that's roughly it. And then let's cut away what's inside. And then bumper bars for the vertical lines. And in this case we can use a new feature, which is the 2D depth offset. And with that we can just move fixtures inwards. And this is exactly what we need here. Alright, that's exactly 9 of them and almost equally spaced. Let me know if this triggers any OCD on your end. Right, badge is done. Not perfect as well, but let's move on. To outline the lights, I take the seam kit. that's the shape done. And now some cutouts. Wait. Difficult. Alright, that's the front mostly done, I guess. Yeah, for the headlights I lined the outside with seams and then placed MHDL parts inside. You can't see it all properly. It will probably render better in BeamNG. Grill, cutout and individual bumper bars in there. And also for the fog lights, a vent, headlight and grill, which I rebadged as plastic there. And because the rear track is so much wider than the front, it needs position lights to indicate the absolute thickness of the butt. Yeah, I guess it's well recognizable what it should be. It's not perfect, but that's not possible. So let's move on to the side. Let's start with the mirrors. Yeah, the mirrors are placed in a really strange position, really far back. You have to literally dislocate your neck to look into them. It's a bit inconvenient, but as a BMW driver, you don't need them anyway. They're really just there for admiring the gloriously wide rear arches from time to time. So the iconic side vents, made from individual pieces in this case, reminiscent of the 507. Maybe a bit very retro, but I like them. And an extra bimmer badge of course, so that people know what you have when you approach them sideways in a corner. And then there's the tank lid on the passenger side. With normal driving I get around 9 liters for 100 kilometers. That's about 26 mpg. The fun pedal makes a big difference, but I also got it down to 7.5 liters once, so about 31 mpg. But without fun. Then one of the more useless features on the car, the side indicator. And then let's try to fix the rear wheel arches, which just don't look right. Yeah, I think that's a lot better for my favorite part of the car. I'm using 3D wheel arches to get the look a bit more right. This looks so overdone on the real car and is something I probably never would do on a fictional car. But only by recreating a real car you can really get a feeling for what is truly doable, and then being bold is okay. So I decided to take a little bit of the roofline away there, but now I have this seam here, of course, over the whole body. Hope it's alright. It probably would look better with a sunroof, which I don't have. But yeah, then there's something at least going on, and maybe it's actually better. The rear is also not perfect, so this section here should be a bit wider, but it's the max I can get from this. Yeah, here we can also see that the rear is a bit wider than it is in reality, but yeah, nothing we can do. Let's try to make it work. Alright, I think I'm really done. This was a lot of fun, even though it's not perfect. But I learned a lot of what you can do actually. And I think the taillights look really nice. It's just that the proportions fall apart a little bit at the rear. But it's recognizable what it should be. I could do also a little bit more cleanup, but for now I think it's alright. Before we export this beauty and do a rollout on the streets of BeamNG, I have a question for you. I want to make at least one more video with a modified version of the car. So how should I modify it? I'm sure you have much better and much more unhinged ideas that I have, so let me know in the comments below and I will realize the most popular and probably most irresponsible suggestions. Alright, here we are with the beautiful export, and let's do some driving safety tests, of course. And all of the understeer. Maybe it makes sense to turn off the traction control here. Okay, much better. I'm just on the controller today and it's really hard. But it also wasn't very easy in real life. It also stepped out on me once when I shifted up into a second gear while turning left and didn't really pay attention to clutching in. Luckily I could catch it, but it must have been quite a spectacle for other drivers on the junction. Thinking, that stupid BMW driver, just showing off. Alright, let's see what it can do on the Top Gear test track. I'm hand timing this. Quite a bit of understeer there. So if you go into quick, it's understeery. If you are on throttle, it's quite a bit of oversteery. I'm ahead. Yeah, perfect. Ah, oh, he's snapping on me. Totally under the limit, but at least I'm through. And now, well, that's not the track. And across the line in a 144. Alright, now we are where this car really belongs. West Coast, USA. Lombard Street Drift Edition. Almost. And then maybe for a few things I wouldn't do in real life. Or with my own car, at least. Traction control dirt racing. Actually quite controllable with the traction control on. It's just that it doesn't have any drive. Ouch. 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 Oh, let's turn traction control off. I'm still on the medium tires, of course, no off-road tires. And it's not exactly going straight. Ouch. That seems to be a very good... Oh. Very good car for dirt racing or rallycross, just that I underestimated this jump here. As good as it is off-roading, it must be really good going down the hill as well, right? Very stable. And that's the end. No wheel. Let's go to the airport, it's time for vacation. Let's park it up. Yeah. Nothing beats a set to holiday, so I think we have the penthouse suite up there. Let's get there. Traction control off. Staircases. Yeah, the staircases could use some fixing here. That's what you get when you book the hotels with big discounts. Might be a construction site or deconstruction site. Ah, perfect. Ouch. And there we are. Almost. I think it's over there. No. Almost did it. I want to talk to the manager. No, almost made it. Oh. Okay, at least I'm on the balcony. I guess I can park there because it's a BMW. Ah, look at it. What a beautiful view. So I think I found my spot here on this island. It's absolutely wonderful. So see you all again very, very soon. Let me know what you would like to see from the coupe in the future. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye bye.